Hey guys, so welcome to Recraft Relic channel, and today we will be going through array methods. So we have few array methods in JavaScript, and today we will be going on hands-on, going through hands-on examples over how we can use the array methods in real life. So let's just get started for that. The first thing that we want to do is I want to create like a dummy index.html so I can load all my JavaScript there, and then I can walk you through all the examples basically. So let's do that. Firstly, let's create this HTML. I'm going to put like a small head in there, and let's do a body as well. Oops. Let's do a body here as well. So here we have this, and let's write a JavaScript outside this file. So let me create a script here, and let me source to let's say /array.js. Yeah, let's create this array.js here. Okay, so few methods that I want to talk about are filter. So I want to talk about filter, and I want to talk about FindIndex and find, right? So and then there are short, then there is short, map, and for each and reduce. So these are the few methods that I want to talk about today, and we'll start with for each. Let's go ahead and start with for each. So what for each actually do, right? So let's define an array here first, right? So let's go here and define a dummy array. Let's like this, and let's keep it simple. Let's use numbers here. So every item is a number in this array. And what we want to do is basically we want to go through all the element of this array. So how we can do that is using Foreach. So what we can do is add.foreach. I hope you all can see my, I'm going to increase the font a bit. So array.foreach, and then so array.foreach basically asks you to provide a callback function, and for every item it's going to call that callback function and do the operation whatever you have defined in that function. So that callback function basically takes in 3 arguments, which is provided by to us when like the for each to us whenever it is executing the callback function, going through all the items. So first is the value, which is like the current index item. So for example, if we start for each, for the first value, the value will be this. For the second time, the value will be this. For the third time, value will be this. And unlike a for loop, for each will end when all the items are be transfers through. So by transfers I mean like the for each have gone through all the elements, then it will stop. It will not go further. So first argument is the value. For the first time it will be 1. For the second time it will be 2. Then the second argument is the index of that element. For example, at which point you are in right now in the function. For example, if for each have run for 3 times, then if it is running for the third time, then it's 3 here. So the index will be, so if you look at their index, the index will be for 1 it will be 0, for 2 it will be 1, for 3 it will be 2, and so on, right? And yeah, so if it's running for the third time, the index will be second. That is that. And the third and the last the argument that for each provide us is the array itself. So array itself is basically this array. If in case if you want to use this array inside the callback function, you can opt in for it, but that is not necessary for us right now, so we are not going to use that. So now we have to understand one of the most important thing is that this for each will run for every item. So for example, if I put console.log here and do a value here, and if I go and run this, let me open this reveal in Finder, let me open a new window, right? And if I go and drop this here, and if we go to the console, you can see the values being outputted, and it's just not number. You can put any kind of elements in the array. For example, if I change this to an object, say age 24, right, and name James, for example, I go ahead, I say age 23, name Manoj as per se, right? And if we have this array and if we run this here, so you can see the objects are being outputted here. So for each just transfers through the array, and in case if you want to go through the elements, you can go through inside for each. You can do any kind of operation in it. So yeah, so for each is like simple for loop. It just we don't have to care about all the things like we have to stop a for loop or we have to put a ending condition. We don't have to do that with for each. Just a straight up for loop for all the elements in the array. So this is that. You can also see the index. If I console the index here, you can see the 0 and the 1. So this is basically the index number. So for this item the index is 0, for this item the index is 1. So that is that. So this is for each. This is pretty straightforward, I guess. Let's move on. Let's comment this out. So we have to one pattern that you will see in mostly all of the methods is that this argument pattern will always stay same. The signature of all the callback functions for all the methods will particularly will be the same. So for example, let's next try out a bit more complex, and let's go for map. Alright, so for example, I redefine this array here, right? And then what I want to do is basically let's do a array.map, right? And let's provide a callback function, and again the same thing goes in here. So firstly, the argument that will be passed to us will be value, the other will be index, and the last will be the array itself, but we don't need that. We don't even need the index right now, so let's just let's not worry about that. So here is the function. I'm trying to do it the old way using the ES5 syntax, but you're free to use any kind of syntax, but I just like this way. So now what I'm going to do is, so what map do? So what map basically do is, for example, if you have a array like this, you can convert into a array of your own liking. So what map do is it returns an array. It's like return a new mapped array. You can do any kind of operations on it, and then it will return you a brand new array. So that is why, because it returns a array, I'm going to save it inside the variable. So for example, mapped array equal to array.map, and then we're going to console it here, console.log. all right, so console.log mapped array. So basically what I want to do is, if you are below age 25, then you are marked as a young person, and if you are aged above 25, then you are marked as an old person. Let's do that. So let's define another person here is age 35 name Benjamin, right? Now let's see what is going to happen, right? So now we have this array, and we know if we go here and console.log the value, right? Let's see what happens if I go here, reload it. So you can see the the values being consoled here, because as like for each, the map will do the same thing. It will go through all the items, but where it changes, basically, where the functionality changes is that you can return something from it. You can return a value which will be stored in the new array that is being shown here. So for example, if I'm not returning anything here, then it's not it's showing undefined, right? Okay, my laptop battery is low. Let me connect it. Let me find my charger. Here we go. So because we are not returning anything, these all properties are undefined. So one thing we have to understand here is that for every item there will be a new value in the mapped array. So for example, if I'm returning undefined for James, so it is showing us James undefined here. If I'm returning undefined from Manoj, it's showing undefined here. So if we return something, for example, if I return 1 here, so you can see, like, I see 3 1 values here, because for every item for the every array item I'm returning 1. I can change it by putting some operation and logic, but that is like the map in nutshell. Basically, whatever you return from the map according to the value, then it's going to save inside that index. For example, if you return something for 0th index, and it's going to save inside the 0th index of the new array, basically. So for example, now let's do one thing. So we have the value here. Let's do some operations. So I say if value, so value is basically this object, as you can see here, value dot age, and if it is bigger than 25, then what I want to do is I want to return old, else if the age is equal to 25 or below 25, then I want to return young, right? Let's go this way. So you can see young, old. So why it is young, old is because, let's also do one other thing, is let's console.log the value.age, so you get a better idea, right? So let's go here. So see, for the first, the value, the age was 24, and the check goes in here. It checks if the value is smaller than the 25, then return old, but it's not smaller than 25, so it falls back to this else, which return young, right? Because the value was 24. So for the first index, for the 0th index, I get the value as young. Then it goes for the second, same story, it goes as young. For the second, I got the young. Now for the third, the case is a bit different. So what basically happens is, because the result.age is 35, checks goes in here and it returns true and it returns old. That's what is happening here. So basically this is the map in a nutshell. What it do is it takes in an array, and then it returns a new array basically where you have mapped the properties of an array to a different property. So what you are basically doing, you're taking an array and mapping its value and returning a new map basically, right? So let's this is a map in a nutshell. Let's do something more complex, right? So let's do this thing. So for example, if you have an array of numbers, right, what I'm going to do is, so 1 2 3 basically, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply every element of this to 3. So for example, if I do this value into 3, what will happen is that every element of new item, so let me also console for better understanding, right? So what is basically going to happen is, for every element it's going to multiply the value by 3 and then going to push it inside this new array, and then in the new array this will be like the new value. So for example, 1 into 3 is 3, 2 into 3 is 6, 3 into 3 is 9. So this is map basically. So let's I think that is pretty much it for the map as well. Let's go ahead and do, I want to keep reduce for the AND because it's one of my favorite methods and it's pretty complex too. So I'm just going to keep it for the AND. So let's start with find. I forgot about find. So let's start with the find. What find do? So as the name suggests, find is basically, if you have to find an element in the array using certain criteria. So let's again do this thing. Let's go here and say age is let's just comment things out. I have the array, yes. Yep. So let's keep it just like this. Remove this. We don't need this. This will be fine again. So what have we done? We have done map. We have done Foreach, right? So let's go ahead and do find. So I'm going to, so how editor find works. So let's do one thing. I want to find the record which name is, which name consists of Manoj, right? So let's do that. Array.find, right? And I go here, do the function, same story, the same type of arguments are passed here, index, value, and then the array, so we don't have to worry about value and index. Let's do one thing. So array.find takes a callback which return value should be a boolean, either true or either a false. So why it should be a boolean? It should be a boolean because if it returns true for that index, then that is the value that we are looking for, and if it returns false, then we basically ignore that value. So for example, if I want to find all if I want to find a record with the name Manoj, what I'm going to do is return, right? So let's make it simple, right? Let's if value dot name is equal to Manoj, right, then return true, either return false. Okay, either return false, simple as that. Right now, if you go here and say var found element equal to this, so why I'm doing this? So this callback's return value is true and false, and according to that, once the was the array dot find finds the element, it returns the element, and that can be saved inside anywhere you want, which can be stored in a variable. So if it returns true for this index as per se, then this whole object will be returned from array dot find and it will be saved inside found element. So I'm also going to console that, console.log found element. So you can see right away do this, but let's try something else. Let's try arbitrary name which does not exist, right? And in this case the value will be undefined. Why it will be undefined? Because what array.find is basically doing is it's going through all the element and running this function for all the element, right? So for example, let's see our array here, right? Let's move it down here for better visuality. So here you go. So this array, right, the array.find function, the callback function that we have provided, will run for the first element. So it will check for the value.name, which is James equal to SDFDS, and it will be basically return will not be true, so it will return false, and that's why we ignore this value. Then we goes to the second element, and then the same story, because it doesn't match, it written false, so this element is also not written. And then again for the third one, same stories goes, and it does not return anything. The reason for is that these don't match, and because these don't match, it doesn't return true and it return false. And because any of this element didn't match, or all of them return false, the value is undefined because it is not found. But what if I change this name to Benjamin and I go here, then I am able to find Benjamin. Let's go through this again, right? It checks value.name equal to Benjamin here, not true, then it return false, this get ignored, but here it sees that the value is Benjamin, right? And so it returns true here, and because it returns true, the array.find picks this value and return this as the return value of the whole array.find function, which is saved inside found element. And it's basically simple as that. One thing we have to understand about find is, for example, let's say Benjamin, right? Let's say two Benjamin with different age, 26. I don't need that. So let's try it out, right? Right, you see there it written age 35, 35. Even I have a Benjamin age 36. The reason behind this is, let me do that again. So the reason behind this is basically, as soon as found an element, it's going to stop. It's not going to go through the whole array. It's just going to stop at that point of time, which is also good, but it's bad when you want to find multiple elements. It's good when you want to find unique elements, like a single unique element, but it's not good when you want to find a group of elements. For example, I want to find all the person whose name is Benjamin. I want to find all the person whose age is who are older than 25. In that case, we are going to use a different array method, which I'm going to talk about next, which is filter. So let's comment this thing out, move it upwards, I guess. By the way, guys, let me know in the comments that what should I live stream about next. So I live stream every Saturday, so you can let me know if there is there is anything in JavaScript which you want to know and want to know more about and want me to code. So you can basically just let me know in the comments and I'll try to do it for you guys. So let's now move on to filter. So we are done with the find. Let's remove this from the roadmap list and let's go for the filter. Basically, as the name suggests, it is used for filtering an array. Alright, so for example, if you have an array of 100 items as per se, and you want to filter it according to some criteria, you have to use filter then. All right, so let's start and see how that works. So and same as map, it's going to return a new array. So for example, if you have if you have an array of 50 elements and you put some criteria and now only 25 items match that criteria, it's going to return you an array with that 25 items basically. So for that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say var filtered items equal to error dot filter. Same story here, you will find the function which will have a value, index and an array, as you guys know the drill, right? So you know that what are the parameters are there. So filter item equal to array dot filter. So now what is the basis we're going to filter it? So let's say I only want to include everyone named Benjamin into this new array, right? So I for some reason I like Benjamin name, and now what I want to do is I want to only filter array only filter persons whose name is Benjamin. So I'm going to do it. We know that all of these methods are transversal function. Transversal function means that they are going to transverse through the array, which means like they are going to execute this function for every item in the array. So let's we all know that. So so let's start that. So let's do this thing. So if value dot name is equal to Benjamin, right, I am going to return true. And as the find function, this callbacks is also a boolean. It's this function also return a boolean basically. So if you return true, then this item is the good record basically. So this is the item that you want to include in the new array. But if you say return false, then it's not going to include that item basically. It's going to ignore that item. So what we are doing here is, if the item dot name is equal to Benjamin, then include it into the new array. But if its name is not Benjamin, then don't include it in the new array. Simple as that, right? So let's do it. So let's console this. We don't need this here now. So let's go here, console.log, right? And you can see there are two items here, right? Age35, both name is Benjamin. So let me walk you through what happened here, right? So array.filter ran for the first item, and the first item name was James, which didn't match to it. So this didn't run and it returned false. So we ignored the first item. Then it ran for the second item, and same story. So it returned false. We ignored that item. Then it ran for the third item, and then you can see the name was Benjamin. It matched, so it returned true, and therefore that was included in this array item. And then it goes same for the last element, because the name matched. It basically says, let's return true, and it's going to include an item. So I'm using very basic examples here, but the gist of all of this is that if for a single item you return true, that item is going to be added to the new array. And if you say return false, then the item is not going to be added to the new array. And you can put any kind of condition there, like complex conditions if you want to put it in there. But the gist, it will always come to only returning true or false. All right. So the logic is simple. Either return true, it will be included in the element. Either return false, it will not be included in the new array. But the you can put any kind of complex operations here which return true or false. All right. So this is filter, which is like pretty basic, but let's work through more on this. Let's put some more condition in here. So we say we want to return people with name Benjamin, but we only want to return people name with Benjamin whose age is below 24, basically, right? So how I'm going to put that condition? So value.name equal to Benjamin, that's good. We want someone with the name Benjamin, but we want to put like an and condition, basically. So we are going to say that the person name should be Benjamin, but their age should be 24 as well. Or you can say their age is below 25, basically, right? So let's go here and run this, and now you can see there is only one item because the only one item matched the condition, right? So for example, now we don't need everybody named Benjamin, we need people with name Benjamin but with the age 25. All right, so this is that. I think this is pretty clear to all people. If it's not clear, let me know and I'll try to explain it way better. Right, so let's move it to top as well now. Let's go here. So we are also done with our filter, and now let's go for, I want to keep short for like the second most item because short is like a pretty complex thing and it's pretty confusing thing, so we maybe have to dive deeper in it. I also kind of get confused sometimes with the short, but we'll try to I'll try to explain as much as I can according to my knowledge. And then reduce is my favorite, and it's like one of the most used methods by me. Even when we can't use reduce, I try to use reduce, but I'll show you what reduce is. So let's go through the FindIndex basically first. So I go in here and I say var. So find is like FindIndex, but the only good thing about it, only different thing about it is that it's going to return the index, not the item. So for example, it works the same as array.find, but when you return true for a specific item, instead of returning that item, it's going to return that index. So, and it can be useful many times. For example, if you have an array and you so for example, if you have an array and you want to search Manoj and you want to delete that item from the array, so you need an index, right? If you have an index, you can splice it, right? In those cases, FindIndex can be used basically, right? So let's go and try to use this. So found index equal to this. So let's try to write the function equal to array.findIndex. Same story here as well. The function will have a value, an index, and an array. You know the drill, right? The arrow functions we are not using them here right now. Okay, so the same as find, it's going to run through all the elements basically. So let's do it. So if and as filter as find, it's also a boolean function, so it need to return either true or false. So let's go here. If you return true, then that means that you have found that element. I'm just going to reply to live chat here to all the people who's watching. So now if you return true, then the item is found and it's going to return the index of that that item. If you return false, then it's going to be ignored. So let's go through it. So if value dot name is equal to Manoj, right, return true, either return false. Right. So let's see what will happen here. Like, let's try to predict, you know, what is going to happen. So, and I'm going to console this as well. Right, so let's try to predict. Okay, so if value dot name equal to Manoj, which is here, right, so let's say for the first item it will run, it will say no, it is not equal to Manoj, then it will return false, so it will be ignored. Then at the next point it says, you know, value dot name is equal to Manoj, which is true, it will return true, and then the array.findIndex will say, you know what, I found the element, now here is your index. You know, I'm just going to store this index and I'm just going to return it, and I will terminate basically. So same as find index is going to basically, you know, like terminate basically, right? If it found the element, it's going to terminate. It's not going to run through all the elements. So let's go here and try to see, and you can see, you know, 1, because the index of this element is 1, 0th and 1th index, so it's basically found it. Let's try to see what happens if it don't find an element. Okay, so we go here and we say nothing, maybe some random name, or I just say you know, Mark, and let's try to see, and it returns -1. Okay, so the reason it returns -1 and you know, not undefined, because it's not returning an value, right? When it's find, then it returns an undefined because it didn't find the value. Here, because it didn't find the index, is going to return -1, saying that, you know what, I didn't find an index, so it's most probably you know, it's not in the array, so here is the -1, right? So that is basically the use of FindIndex. In a nutshell, again, filter, find, and the FindIndex, they all accepts Boolean callbacks, and if you return false, then they are not going to include items, or they're going to ignore them. And if you return true, in the case of find and FindIndex, they're going to stop and return the item and the index. But in the case of filter, it's going to include that item in the, you know, the new array that is basically the filtered array it's going to output. Again, I want to emphasize on this, that if you want to find a single element, single item, or the first single item, then use find. And if you want to find a group, or if you want to find multiple items of same criteria, then you always use filter basically. So what I'm trying to say is, if you are searching, if you're implementing a searching in your application, always go for filter. But if you're trying to find a specific element or specific type of a product, basically when you're building an e-commerce application, then go for find basically, right? So we are going to put this in here in the Hall of Fame. I'm going to remove this. All right, so now we are just, you know, left with the 2, and we have covered like 40 minutes, so that's good. I'm trying to shorten the live coding session you know, to maybe 1 hour, so I think we will be able to achieve that today, or we'll see. You know, this short thing makes me like really confusing. So let's start with the sort. You know, let's face our fears. So as the name suggests, sort is basically used for sorting your array. There are multiple type of options, or you know, signature overrides you can provide to sort. By signature override means, I mean that either you can provide nothing, or you can provide a function basically. So if you don't provide nothing, then you try to default sort, which I'm not going to cover, which is like covered everywhere. But what I'm going to cover is, what if you you pass a sorting callback, what will happen then? Right? So because it's going to return a sorted array, so let's just do one thing here. Var sorted r equal to r dot sort, right? And in the array dot sort, what I'm going to do basically is, so now this is a bit different, you know. So all the methods before this had a similar parameter signature, similar argument signature, right? That it's going to take value, index, and the list of the element. But here with the sort, it's a bit different. So what sorting will do is it will give you an item A and an item B, right? So it's basically like A is like the current item, B is the next item, and you know that's how it's going to sort. It's going to sort A B, you know, A B B C C D, like that. And let's go through its description. So let's do this. Function A and B. So you can see the description here. Let's go through it, what it says. Function used to determine the order of the element. It is expected to return a negative value if first argument is less than the second argument, right? And by less means that you want to move this item to, you know, in the front of that, the first item. 0 if they are equal. If they are equal, if there is no sorting, you can't sort between them, then they are equal. And a positive value otherwise. Positive value means if you want to put this value in front of the behind this value. So for example, if you have 0 1 0 4 1, you want to put 1 before 4 and 4, you know, 4 after 1, right? So for 1 you will return minus, so it will go in front, and for 4 you will return plus, so it will go forward basically. So let's try to figure it out, right? Let's do it. So let's we will sort it in ascending way, so we will sort in an increasing way. I think I'm assuming ascending is increasing, but yeah, what I mean is like we will sort them in increasing way. So 1 2 3 4 5 6 like that. Let's not change our array. Let's you know, sort them according to age basically. Alright, I'm not going to use a number array because that's too simple. In the real world, most probably you're going to be sorting arrays or dates or stuff like that. So I'm going to use an object, you know, with the age. So let's see. If a dot age is smaller than b dot age, then return -1. Why I want to return -1? Because if it is smaller, then it should be, you know, in the front. I guess so. I'm not sure. Let's try out. If a dot age equal to b dot age, then return 0. And that's what I like about live sessions, that you know you get a, you know, authentic feedback how actually when we code, you know, what kind of issues we run into, and we are not always so sure about things, you know. So a dot age, if it is greater than b dot age, then I'm going to return +1. I'm going to return of +1. So because if a dot age is bigger than b dot age, if it's 100 and if it's 40, it should return +1, moving it, you know, in the front of this basically. So let's try it out. I'm going to, you know, console this sorted array. Right, so let's see. Yeah, so there are some unsorted item. For example, this is an unsorted item. So ideally it should be like age 23 should be here, age 24, then 35, and then 36. Let's see if that, you know, works or not. boom, it works. So age 23 is at the top, 24, 24, 35, 36, you know. I was not sure if, you know, that's going to work at the first time, but it's worked. So let me walk you through what actually happened here. So let me do this thing. Let me console, so you have a better idea. Console.log a dot age and b dot age, right? So you have a better idea how what was happening basically. So what happened is 23, 24, right? So first value here and the second value here. Let me 35, right? And 23 makes sense. 23 makes sense. It goes up, it goes right, and 35, it makes sense. Okay. So 23 is basically the okay, for some reason it is taking a as this, but yeah, so we have 23 and then we had 24 here, 23 and 24, and what basically happened, it searched through and then says no, you know, it just basically b dot age, right? So b dot is 24, 23, so 23 is bigger, so it returned -1 and it stays the b dot age was, and that's what I was talking about. It always confuses me basically. So age 24, b dot age is here, then a dot age 23 is here, 24 is here, b dot age, and then what we do, we basically search through and then we return -1, and then it switched basically, right? It switched and then it hard to visualize, so what I'm going to do is console.log the array dot map item. I'll tell you in a bit what I'm trying to do, but yeah, let me have this. So yeah, now I think you will be no? It's always the same. Okay, I highly doubt that should have happened, but yeah, it's share reference, so right. Okay, so let's go back to, it didn't go as planned, so let's not worry about this as well right now. So we have 25, 24, 35, 23, right? So a dot age, let's do one thing, let's go ahead and do maybe. Alright, let's do this. So 24 is the is the first item, and the second item is 23. We checked if their age, b dot age is bigger than a dot age, and then we return -1. Then here the 35 is here, 23 is here. Then it checked and it says 35 is bigger than 23, which is this, so it returned 1. Moving 35 back to, you know, back 23 basically. So when you return 20, so you have 23 and 24, what you did is basically you returned -1, so 23 is here. Now what you are basically doing, you have right here, then you have 35 and 23, then it returned you know, a dot add and b, a dot age and the b dot age 23, then James, basically it run through James, then Benjamin and James. So you can see James going backwards because that's what is happening. You know, because for the first item what happened is it -1 and it the James goes backward, then it checked for the Benjamin and the other item, the name with like 23. Then it checked, then James got backwards, and then James keep getting backward until it basically gone here. So that is what basically happening, right? We can also reverse it. To reverse it, what we have to do is just do a 1 here and -1 here, right? And you can see that it will be reversed 26, 34, 30, right? Because now what is happening is 23, 24, and it's returning 1, so 23 is getting passed again, then it's getting passed again, it's getting passed again. Same thing which happened with James, now it's happening with 23. So this is shorting basically. If you want to right, so right, so what basically happens is if you want to return if you want to keep an item before, right, you return -1, and if you want to move it backward, then you return 1 basically. So this is basically the whole logic, and if you don't want to move it in the either direction, you just return 0, right? So this is shorting. It is very confusing, I guess. I don't think I did a very good job of explaining it. It just right, so I'll try to leave it here because I want to close this video as soon as possible. So if you guys have any question about shorting array, I can maybe create like a new video for that, but right now I think it's let's move into reduce, right? So reduce, as the name suggests, is for reducing the array, right? So what reduce do is it takes your array, like multiple item in that array, and it reduce it into a single value. All right. For example, your array, the whole array of objects reduce into a single object, or your whole array of number reduce into a single number. So classic example of this, if you want to sum an array, right? For example, everybody in our array maybe have some kind of amount on them, some kind of amount that they have earned in their life. So for example, amount 1000, right? So let me copy and paste this everywhere. Right, let's say Benjamin is 24, he have less money, but because Benjamin is, so they have more money, and he have like more money because he's rich, yeah, and James have like maybe some crazy amount of money. So now what they are trying to do is they are trying to open a charity, and what they are trying to do is that these are their saving amount, and what they want to do is they want to sum all of this amount and see if that is if that can be used to buy a place for the charity. So for that we want to sum like all the elements in this like all the amount in this array, right? So what I'm going to do is, and I'm going to, so reduce basically returns like that single value. Once it reduce it to when it reduce the array into a single value, then it's return it. So we need some way to solve it, store it basically. So I'm say var sum of amount, so it's a sum equal to array dot reduce, right? Now again this receive a different type of argument, but the most important thing is it takes in a result and the current value. So I'll tell you in a bit what it is, and then it takes second argument, which is like the initial value. So I'll tell you what this is for, right? So let me write the whole function and then I'll try to explain it, because I think that will be much more easier and intuitive. Basically, I'm going to say var sum is equal to result plus current value, and then return the sum, and then I'm going to do this, right? But we have to understand the current value is an object. So what I'm going to do is dot amount. So I just want to sum their amount. I don't want to sum the objects, I want to sum their amounts. So here you go, the sum of their amount. How it is working now? So how it works is basically this. So reduce, what it do is takes an initial result, which is 0 in our case. So we say initially the sum is 0, because we haven't added anything. So it is basically 0, right? So the result is the previous value what it is written here. So we have to understand this is also a transversal function, so it's going to go through all the element of the list, right, of the array. So what it's doing right now, it's running the function for the first time, and for the first time the result value is same as the initial value, because we say the initial value of the result will be 0. So the result value for the first loop is 0, right? Then it takes the current value, which is the first element here, which is the amount 10029, and then I go here and say var sum equal to result plus current value dot amount, which is like 0, plus current value dot amount, which is like 10029, and then return then sum. When we return that sum, the next time for the next value, the name Manoj, for the item with the name Manoj, the next time when this function will run, this result value will be the return value of the previous function, which is this 11029, which is the sum of the initial value and the amount, basically the amount of the first element, right? It takes that and it returns the sum here, result. So what I do now, I have 10029 and then 100, and I plus them and then I return it, and then for the third function the value is 10029 plus 1000, then I plus 10,000 in it, and just keep going, and in the end it just return the whole the whole result basically. So I'm going to console to make it easier for you guys to understand. So I'm going to console the current value dot name, okay, current value dot name and the result. So we know what we are up to. So for example, for James it was 0. The reason for James it was 0 because the initial value was 0. If I keep it like 1, then it's going to be 1. Alright, so I keep it 0, right? Simple. So for the first time the value is 0. The reason it is 0 is because I provided the initial value 0. Then the next time the value is 10029, because this thing 0 plus current value dot amount, which was the James amount 1029, when we plus them and return them and the function runs for this second item, then the result value is 10029, which is the sum of the previous function, and then it goes again and again, it just keep going, right? So this is basically reduce, it reduce to a single value, right? Okay, other thing we can do is we can, for example, what I want to do, I want to group all the people with the same name. Alright, so for example, I want to create an object with this thing. So all the people with Benjamin should come inside this item, right? All the people with Manoj should come inside this item, right? And because they are like multiple, they can be multiple people, I'm going to use array, right? So for example, if you want to group multiple people inside an array, right? So if you look at it from a technical point of view, an array is going to be converted into an object which is like a single value, right? So you can basically use reduce for it. So what I'm going to do is here. So initially that object should be empty. It should not have any name or anything because it's empty. I haven't gone through the array yet. So now what will happen basically is I'll say result, which is like the empty object. I'm going to say something like this. If result current value dot name, if it exists, for example, if there is already record with the Benjamin name, there is already been a key generated in the name of Benjamin, then push the current value inside it. Alright, so I say push the current value inside it. Else, if it is not created, if we are encountering the Benjamin name for the first time, in that case initialize an empty array inside it. So for example, if we encounter the Benjamin for the first time, but say we say, you know what, we found Benjamin, but right now we haven't put any element inside it, so it's an empty array basically, right? And then we say, because it's an empty array now, then we can go here and we can push it inside it, right? And at the end of everything, I'm going to return result. So what will happen here? Let's change these to group. Right, and let's console it. Current value is not defined. Alright, so there is a spelling mistake on sec. Yeah, there was a typo. So you can see, right, I basically grouped all of those elements according to the name key. All the name with the Benjamin is inside Benjamin, all the name with James is inside James, all the name with Manoj is inside Manoj. The reason it works is because what you're doing is, firstly you're taking an empty array and then you're going through the function for the first time. What will happen? So we have the current value. So firstly the result is empty object and the current value is this James. So we check if in this empty object there is a property called James, and it doesn't exist, right? So what you do is it falls back to this one and it says, because it does not exist, I'm going to create an empty array inside it, and then I'm going to push the current value inside. So with the name James, it creates an object with the property James with an empty array, and in that empty array we put this James value, and then we return the result. This is important because if we don't return the result here as per se, it can't, because I'm returning undefined and it's trying to check it. See, it's trying to check the name, right? And it's undefined, so it's not going to work. We have to return it. So we return this object with the James property to the second thing, and then you check for the Manoj. The same process goes on, and it creates a new property with the name Manoj, puts Manoj inside it, and then for the Benjamin it just keep going and going and going, right? So this is basically how compounding works. You take in a result, then you return it for the second element, third element, fourth element, fifth element, and when the array ends, it returns the compound, the single value of all those elements. So reduce works something like this. So these are like the these are like the high view overview of the array methods. But obviously, maybe I did a good job of explaining them. I'll try to, in the future, what I will try to do is I'll try to create single videos for all the method, but it's an high overview. I think it's a good window for all of you guys who want to start learning these methods and try to use them in your real life. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this video, and please do let me know in the comments what kind of content do you want to see more here. So I am proficient in JavaScript and React, so if you guys want to see anything crazy, or if you want to build an application live with me, just let me know in the comments and I'll try to make that happen. I try to do live stream every Saturday. So yeah, that is pretty much it. So yeah guys, thank you for being here. Yeah, sayonara for the next time.